Powered by Arkansas, for Arkansas. This is Inside Arkansas Live.
And welcome in to Inside Arkansas Live here on this fine Monday in Fayetteville. I had to wait for the microphone to unmute the other day. It just kept me muted and I was yapping and nobody could hear me. So I made damn well sure that this thing was right this time. What's up, folks? Happy start of Christmas week for those who celebrate. Curtis Wilkerson here with you today alongside Andrew Ellis from an undisclosed location. John Neighbors out of commission for today, which means our friends in the chat get to pick up the slack in his absence. So pressure on you. We got a lot to get into today. We're going to talk Arkansas basketball in the aftermath of this Houston game. I'm going to play a little game of yay or nay with some of these interesting new names who are expected to hit the football transfer portal. We're going to have our best and worst of the weekend. And of course, on days like today, we spend a lot of time in the chat. So get your questions and comments in now. Andrew, good to see you, my friend. How are we feeling here on this Christmas Monday?
I'm feeling pretty good, you know, in my hometown, in the area, got to be around a lot of family and everything, which is always nice. I'm in pretty good spirits. So if the chat ruins my vibes, it's going to really hurt. It's going to hurt my feelings. But I feel like we got a good group in here today. I feel like if you're in the chat today, you're a loyal, like day one, you're a real avid ball knower, avid, you know, inside Arkansas.
Yeah. I like that. I like that a lot. I like this energy from Pigman already with the super chat. He just says positivity only stream. I agree. That's where I'm at with this entire thing. Feels good, man. Welcome everybody into the show. Like we said, there's gonna be a lot of chat today, so make sure you get your questions and comments in. I do want to start with Arkansas basketball today, of course, because that's it's kind of my thing. That's what we do around here. I saw Katz is already in here, and he was like, "Hey, it seems like with John out, there's not going to be as much football talk today." So yes, we are going to get into some football stuff for sure, but we are going to lead off with basketball. Saturday, Andrew, it obviously didn't go according to plan for the Razorbacks. They fall 94-85 to a Houston team that is in the present, I think, clearly better. You know, it's okay to admit that. John Calipari admitted it. They look good. Certainly some positives to take away, particularly on the offensive side of the ball. But now that it's marinated for a couple nights here, I'm interested to hear how you feel. Like, was this the like the humbling type of game that the doctor ordered that will catapult this team into SEC play, kind of like you thought it might be going into it, or did it reveal some more concerning, red flags for the big picture?
I mean, I think it's a little bit of both, honestly. I do think this is a healthy, normal, this is the type of loss that you can easily take and move forward positively with. I don't think this is the type of loss that will demoralize you because you understand the opponent you played. You understood what was at stake. And honestly, I think the fact that Arkansas scored 85 points in the game against Houston's defense makes it a lot more palatable. But for me, yeah, you mentioned some of those maybe red flags. I think the defensive end for Arkansas, that's the very obvious thing we're going to have to discuss and the thing that we're going to have to think about moving forward. Anytime we play any guard that has any athleticism whatsoever, it's going to be like, oh, crap, we're not going to be able to stay in front of this guy. He's going to be able to get into the paint at will no matter what. And like you touched on going into the matchup, it's not as much the narrative of this whole physicality, the Hogs are going to get abused on the glass and all that. That's not nearly as much of an issue as we maybe thought it would be earlier in the season. But I do think Arkansas does have some issues on the perimeter defensively. And I don't think this team is not an Eric Musselman team. So it's tough to make these comparisons. But I think back to a few years ago when this time of year we watched Hofstra score damn near 100 on Arkansas in Little Rock. We watched them just kind of have these huge struggles defensively. And some of those teams wound up being some of the best defensive teams we've seen, by the end of the year, by the time the stakes started rising. So I think if you do have things to work on, I would rather it be on the defensive end because you should be getting better and better defensively as the stakes of your game start increasing, as that urgency starts to increase, the stage gets a little bit bigger. You should be playing better and better defense. Plus, by March, you'll have more data to kind of work with. And I think defensive issues are more fixable than they are if you just can't shoot, can't score, can't get up and down. And so, big picture, to tie it all together, I still feel very good about this Arkansas team, but I do think they have very real issues that they're going to have to address and they're going to have to work on. I do like the idea that there's not as many SEC teams that I think are going to expose some of their issues. So I think they're going to be able to work on it and win a lot of games in the meantime.
Yeah, I would agree there completely with that last statement. this year's SEC is built a little bit different than last year's SEC. And you're not going to have 14 teams that make the tournament. And nothing comes easily in SEC play, obviously, but it's going to come a little bit easier than it did last season, where every single game was such a grind. So that's going to be, I think, some of the benefits Arkansas there. But I'm with you. I think coming into the year, I don't know if people accept it or not, but I kind of thought this might be the case where if you're going to take the next step as a program, you have to improve on the offensive end of the floor. I think Arkansas's had a little bit of a ceiling, like that second weekend ceiling, because they've been limited in what they do on that end. And, like 3-point shooting, whatever you want to name it, it's been an issue if you're trying to be a contender to cut down the nets. So Arkansas had to get better on that end. Sometimes when you do that, you sacrifice a little bit on the defensive end of the floor. And so my question now for Arkansas is, can you be a great offensive team? And they're trending that direction. You go look at the metrics, and they're jumping up there, folks. And they've proven at this point that they can score on anybody. So I feel really good about where they're headed there, even while there's players on this team who aren't playing well. That's what kind of excites me about what this team could be from an offensive standpoint, because Carter doesn't really have it going consistently. DJ doesn't have it going. Malik Ewan just realized he can play basketball again. Like, there's a bunch of guys there who are trying to figure it out. Now, can you be a great offensive team and a good defensive team? Or are you going to be a great offensive team and a below average defensive team is the question here. Some things they got to work on, keeping the ball in front of them. They really struggled with that against Houston. It showed, because they were just getting beat off the bounce relentlessly. They're getting paint touches. And if people want to talk about Arkansas's 3-point defense, and it's like, oh, well, they gave up 11 threes to Houston. They gave up 13 to Texas Tech. Well, it's because they couldn't keep their point guards out of the lane, and the defense collapses. You kick it out. Good teams are going to knock down rhythm threes. So they've got to be a lot better with their on-ball defense. And it wasn't just Kingston Flemings. It was also Michael Brown Jr. It was also Christian Anderson. It's a lot of these really good guards that Arkansas has faced have kind of had their way with them. That's something that they're going to have to really figure out here. But on the flip side of it, I am encouraged with Arkansas's ability to keep teams off of the offensive glass relative to last year. Michigan State went and got 19 offensive rebounds on them, and we were like, good Lord, here we go again. Like, this hasn't changed from last season. But since then, they've really done a good job of keeping teams off of the glass. Teams that are really good at it, they have beaten Houston and Louisville and Texas Tech on the backboard. So you think about going into SEC play, some of the things that hurt you at times in there last year, you're going to be better from that standpoint. But yeah, they got some things that they got to clean up over there for sure.
Yeah, we always say, oh, this team has a high ceiling, but we just don't know if they'll reach it or whatever. And you mentioned how some of these past years, Arkansas actually had a pretty definitive ceiling because of the offensive end. Like some of those Eric Musselman teams, I feel like they reached their ceiling. Like, I feel like they went as far as they possibly could because of that defensive end. Last year's team maybe doesn't quite fit that category, because I don't know what their actual ceiling was. We didn't really get to see that. But I feel like Sweet 16 was pretty close to it, frankly. This year's team has a much higher ceiling. They also have a pretty low floor where, like, game to game, they could get caught by, we almost saw them lose to Winthrop. We've seen them give up 94 points to Houston. Like, we've seen times where there's issues that could be presented. Like, this team does have some of the characteristics, frankly, Curtis, and I'm scared to say this out loud. They have some of the characteristics that those John Calipari teams that got bounced in the first round by mid-majors have. Like, there are some similarities between this Arkansas team and his last team at Kentucky that 100%. Had the best offense in the SEC and then lost to that realtor from Oakland or whatever. Like this team does share some of those characteristics. So as a Hog fan, that should scare you. And I'm not saying, hey, that's guaranteed going to be your, but like, that should be in the back of your mind. And no matter what this team does in SEC play, we need to remember that and be aware of that, though the team also is aware of that. You don't think John Calipari is sitting here saying, guys, I've seen 7 teams just like you that are great, have all this talent, but could get beat by anyone. They need to understand that. This team needs to understand, hey, we're good. There's things we can do well. There's a lot of teams we can beat. And I think a lot of times we see this where you watch Arkansas play Winthrop and you say, man, they almost lost to Winthrop. They only won by 1. How could they possibly beat a Texas Tech? Well, there's not really much connective tissue between those two things. It's going to be kind of matchup to matchup, game to game. This team's ceiling could be completely different on any given day, which makes it exciting, but it also is a little bit horrifying. But throughout the course of the year, there's plenty of time for them to kind of figure some things out. But I think that's something that we can't forget. No matter what, even if Arkansas goes 13-5 or 14-4 in SEC play and we're feeling awesome, we still need to remember there are some, there's some red flags that could be there. But that's what college basketball is. That at the heart of college basketball, these are the teams that we fall in love with the most. The teams you can go into the tournament and really convince yourself they could beat anyone, but also could lose to anyone. In a way, it's kind of a perfect John Calipari squad, honestly.
Yeah. I've thought a lot. I'm glad you brought that up. I've thought a lot about this Arkansas team and Cal's last team at Kentucky. Because you're right, like there are some of those traits there where it was like, okay, wow, this seems actually a lot of fun to watch offensively for a change with Cal. Like this is crazy, and they couldn't really guard. And I see Katz in there. He was like the 23-24 team never guarded, and you're right, they didn't. And there are two reasons why because I see it and I acknowledge it, but I feel better about this team. For one, because of the experience factor. And I know that it wasn't just all freshmen that Cal had on that team, but it was a bunch of them. They were way more heavily relying on that. This Arkansas team, you've got the 4 guys back who went through those wars with you last year. They get it. They understand it. They've been there. They've done that. You've got a Nick Pringle over who's been in a Final Four. He's been in multiple NCAA tournaments. He's a guy who's kind of been there, done that. So the shock and awe factor is not going to be there for this Arkansas team. For Kentucky, it was that combination of, oh boy, like we haven't been good defensively, and now this Golke kid is going nuts, and we're in a completely different level of pressure than we've ever experienced, lemon booty time. And that's exactly what happened with them. Arkansas might have some of those other things, but they're not going to have lemon booty. So I feel a little bit better about them getting it, being able to get by one of those plucky mid-majors in the first round. And the funny thing about it is, let's say Arkansas gets a 4 seed or whatever, and they play a 13. I will probably be more nervous about that than I would be their second round matchup against a lot better of a team. And maybe that's just the way that it is in these type of situations. But the other thing that makes me feel decent about it, at least this team, they're going to improve defensively. The question is how much over the course of SEC play. But we have seen the stretches where they really lock down and guard. They guarded the hell out of Michigan State. And I know I'm referencing our friend Katz a lot today. I see him in here in the chat, but I always see him go, Michigan State made 1 3. They only made 1 3. Well, Arkansas guarded them, my guy. What'd they make, like 11 on Kentucky's? And Kentucky's got a good defense. So you got to credit Arkansas for the job they did in a hostile environment there. First half, you gave up 49 to Texas Tech. How good was Arkansas's defense in the second half of that basketball game? You gave up 40 points in 10 minutes to Houston the other day. You gave up 9 the last 10 minutes of the first half. So they've shown flashes of being a competent and solid defensive team. They just haven't been able to string it together defensively. So I think that it's in there. It's just a matter of them figuring it out here a little bit.
Yeah, the adjustments part is a very valid thing because, that's kind of the narrative with Cal is, he's got all these great athletes, but he can't coach. No X's and O's. And I don't necessarily think that's a completely unfair sentiment. But like you said, even in the Houston game, they did make adjustments, and they were a lot better once they made those adjustments. It's tough to say, hey, you made great adjustments after the 21-2 run, but Arkansas did make great adjustments and played better defense and then kind of ran out of gas there late. So that gives me some optimism. But another thing is, we know John Calipari views everything through the lens of, let's get these individual players and let's get them doing their job and playing to the best of their abilities, and then it will lead to a big overall product with a great team. And I think about a lot of Arkansas's issues, they can be solved by individual players just being better, being more consistent versions of themselves. Someone like TB getting into foul trouble. If I can get TB to not get into foul trouble, all of a sudden Arkansas is a better defensive team overnight. If Carter Knox is all of a sudden that super motivated, super locked in and aggressive version of himself, Arkansas's got a better perimeter defender, better perimeter wing out there, someone that can knock down threes. Malik Thomas, I don't think is ever going to be a guy that is a defensive anchor that can really change the game for Arkansas, but we've seen him be an active defender that has good hands and can be in the right spot. I think him playing better basketball, being a better individual player, can directly solve some of Arkansas's issues. Same goes for someone like Nick Pringle, who we obviously see are not getting the best version of him, and I don't know if he's healthy, whatever. That's another guy that I just look at and say, hey man, some of these issues that Arkansas are facing are direct results of individuals not living up to their best version. And I'm not saying, hey, if all these guys start to play better, Arkansas is just going to magically be an awesome defensive team. But I do think a lot of Arkansas's issues can be solved here with just guys playing better basketball which is something John Calipari does have a very long track record of doing.
Right. And I will say, we're talking about like things they have to clean up or, problem areas or whatever. Understand the context in which we speak. Like Arkansas they're a really good team. Okay. Like last year at this time, we were talking about Arkansas's problem issues from a standpoint of if they don't get this cleaned up, they're not making the tournament. That is not what we were doing here. We were talking about them reaching the goals that they have for themselves this season, which are lofty, right? It's like, when we're talking about all these things, it's not, oh man, these guys suck. There's major red flags here. No. If they're going to do the things that we hope they do this season, they've got to figure some of this stuff out for sure. For the most part, and I want to give, if anybody watched the Pot at the Palace this morning, the SEC power rankings update, I put a heavy emphasis on competitiveness when I did this because Houston controlled Arkansas in that basketball game. Like the Razorbacks got back within arm's length, but they never closed the distance beyond that. They had opportunities. Like you're down 9, Ewan misses 3 free throws in a row, and that hurts you. You're down 10 or whatever it was, and Pringle misses the free throws, and then DJ the layup after that flagrant. DJ had a couple when Arkansas was on that big run to get back in it in the first half, wide open threes. He knocks that down. All of a sudden, it's like a 6-point game. Like they had their opportunities to really close that gap and flip it, and they didn't. And Houston did what they needed to do, comfortably won that game as the definitively better team. But there's a big difference in Arkansas losing this game to Houston and some of the other results that we've seen throughout the SEC this year, where teams are just been letting go of the rope and getting popped big to other good teams. Like, Houston's a top 10 team in the country. It would have been easy for Arkansas to roll over when it became a 20-point game and lose by 24 or something. And then we're sitting here looking crazy. Auburn, for example, has been a victim of that. They played good basketball at times this year. They've got some decent wins at times this year. But then they get beat 30 by Michigan, and they get beat 30 by Arizona, and they get beat 30 by Purdue. And I understand those teams are capable of doing that to people, but you can't let it happen all 3 times. And Bama, as good as they've been, they get popped by 20 against Arizona. And Kentucky, they get beat by 1,000,000 by Gonzaga. And it's like there's something to be said for the competitiveness that comes with keeping a game within distance and keeping it respectable. So I place some value on that. And I also, and this is a long-winded way for me to point out, Arkansas keeping it relatively close in this basketball game kept their resume intact from a metrics standpoint. And that stuff matters because you don't want all the work that you've done over the course of the last couple of weeks with some of these big wins to get completely negated because you just don't show up for an entire game. Well, Arkansas hung in there against Houston, and from a metric standpoint, they're pretty much intact. They got dinged a little bit, 2 spots here, 3 spots there, nothing crazy like it could have been, but they did fall from number 14 to number 18, Andrew, in the AP Top 25 that released as soon as we started the show here. Looks like they got passed by Kansas, who I don't know that they really played anybody this week. Texas Tech, who came back and got that big win over Duke. So you look at it and you're like, well, Arkansas beat Texas Tech, but they beat Duke. And like that was a huge win for them. Nebraska, who remained undefeated, was right behind Arkansas. They passed them. I don't know who else got passed. Oh, Alabama wound up passing them, and Alabama just beat a couple, mid-majors or whatever. What do you think about that? Is that fair? Like the 4-spot drop there for Arkansas? I was a little surprised that Tennessee didn't pass Arkansas after the week that they had.
Yeah, I'm inclined to say, like, going from 14 to 18 is one thing. I just think the number 18 is a decent number for Arkansas. Like, I think 18 is about right. Frankly, you speak to this more than I think higher than some metrics, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm like, honestly, the Texas Tech thing is the one that people are going to be upset about. I'm okay with it. I think that's a fair enough number. I think you drop a little more so about other teams going up than it is you going down. I'm not super offended by it, frankly. I'm glad they're in the top.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you from that standpoint. I was talking about it on the Pot at the Palace this morning, and I thought that Arkansas might wind up in that 17 range or something like that. But it's that Fayetteville fade, man. It's like it wouldn't surprise me if Arkansas would have wound up outside of the top 20 or something, which would have been really irritating. But I think 18 is fair. That's a decent spot to be in. My thought process is when you go through a non-conference schedule like this, I usually prefer, like, if you come in ranked, I would like to see you finish non-conference where you started or higher. Arkansas is probably not going to do that. Now, a couple teams could lose games or whatever. You punk James Madison, and then you're pretty close at what they start at 14th, I think. So they might be in that range, but overall, it feels like a pretty good non-conference slate for Arkansas. The one part of the metrics that it irritates me a little bit, I'm still trying to figure it out. The net rankings. I know that's everyone's favorite thing to complain about. I do it every day on the Pod at the Palace, which is funny, but and I know that it takes into account efficiency and where you play, like all those things, all kinds of stuff go into it. But seeing Arkansas at 27, they've dropped from 20 to 27 now since that loss to Houston. Okay, fine. But then I see teams like Utah State, Georgia, St. Mary's, St. Louis, all above Arkansas with 0 quad 1 wins. And I just think that's crazy. And it can't be the efficiency stuff too much. Arkansas is still top 50 defensively. They're top 20 offensively. The Hogs have 2 quad 1A wins. And that's as good as it gets. Those are the highest quality wins you can get. All of their losses are by single digits to quad 1A opponents. So if there's such thing as a good loss, that's what Arkansas has. Like, I know it'll work itself out, but it's frustrating. It's kind of hard to understand that when you got 4 mid-majors or whatever who haven't done anything, who are higher than you. And I promise that I'm not just piling on Kentucky because it's fun, and it is, but they're 1-4 in quad 1 games, and they've gotten their ass kicked multiple times this season. What about them makes them a higher value basketball team than Arkansas right now? We'll see what it looks like at the end of the year. We'll see what it looks like in January at the end of the month when they play each other. But right now, I don't know how you can look at those two teams and decide that Kentucky should be higher. I know it's a computer algorithm. I just don't get it.
I'm wondering if the 1-point win over Winthrop and I guess it was a 4-point win over Samford, which was a BS one because Arkansas was up comfortably in that game and wound up only winning by 4, which hurt them a little bit, just like how being down 20 against Houston and getting it to 9 was very helpful. I'd be interested to see, and maybe I honestly want to talk to some of these guys and be like, which games are it that it's like completely weighting Arkansas down? You mentioned the fact that Arkansas doesn't have any bad losses, which is very valuable. It'll get more valuable if it continues to be true, because you get into conference play and there are going to be teams that get blown out here and there. There are going to be teams, the ACC teams, that lose to bottom of the barrel, Boston College or whatever. Like those are going to happen. You just kind of, what Arkansas needs right now is everyone else to just play out their resumes, because we've done all the dirty work on ours. We played 5 real games, which is just a big deal. And so you get further and further. If Arkansas can just tread water, they'll go up just by some of these other teams playing games, getting blown out, having whatever. But yeah, like we've learned, and we know all this stuff is weighted. And so, if you play a bad opponent, obviously you're not going to get as much props. But if you win by 50 and you were projected to win by 37, that on paper is a huge, you were 13 points better than you were supposed to be. And so that's, that, like teams like Vanderbilt, that's how they're able to rise. And Arkansas, where they projected to lose by 4 to Houston, you lose by 9, even though it's a good loss, even though it's a respectable one, you still were worse than you were supposed to be. And that's the way these stupid little computer metrics work, especially earlier in the year whenever there's not as much sample size. But I think that the key to this is just other teams need to play more tests. Other teams play more games, get that sample size a little bit higher. We'll start to stabilize a little bit. And if you get a big home win over Tennessee, all this kind of goes out the window. By that point, that's 2 weeks from now, Arkansas would be in very good shape if they were able to get another big win against Tennessee. That would pretty much clinch them into a good situation. But yeah, it is kind of annoying that the preseason bias is still actively affecting Arkansas.
Yeah, it's hard to shake it. That's for sure. Hey, today's episode of the show is brought to you by our friends over at Drain Masters of Arkansas. Drain Masters are officially licensed in plumbing and drain cleaning while serving the River Valley, Northwest Arkansas, Oklahoma, and beyond. They're ready to handle all plumbing and drain cleaning needs with professional, reliable service. To request a service, give them a call today at 479-646-5585 or scan the QR code right there on your screen. You can also like their Facebook page at Drain Masters Inc. Be sure to tell them that Inside Arkansas sent you and get 10% off all their services, anything and everything plumbing related. No job is too big or too small. Drain Masters of Arkansas has you covered. Okay. This is going to be the segment of the show where we get into football briefly. And then it's up to the chat. Okay. We got a couple things I want to touch on football, and then we're going to go to the chat. And you know, we joke with you guys sometimes like, hey, you guys don't get to dictate what we talk about. You kind of do the back half of the show. So this is your chance, right? Football wise, first thing, I mean, Bobby Petrino and Bill Belichick, just a marriage made in college football heaven, man. BP going to be the offensive coordinator for Bill Belichick at North Carolina. What do you make of this? I told you guys in the group chat, North Carolina is officially my adopted non-Arkansas team in college football next year. I can't wait to watch this.
I'm trying to think if I should like answer this seriously or if I should just kind of do the bit here. To me, it's perfect. Like, I think the Bill Belichick era at North Carolina clearly isn't that serious. Like it's not a very serious operation. I think this is fun, and I think college football, like these are the things that make college football fun. It's just like things like sentences you never thought you would say, by Petrino calling plays for Bill Belichick. That's just a sentence that a decade ago couldn't even be fathomable. I'm happy that I'm able to say that. And I think it's fun. Frankly, like we've talked about it with Bobby, like what was his alternative going to be?
Yeah.
Like what was it? Was he going to go be the OC at Georgia? Probably not. Was he going to be the head coach at some big school? Probably not. I think for him, this is probably about as cool of a gig as he could have possibly gotten. He's going to be on some big stages. He gets to coach with Bill Belichick. Like that's a unique thing. And so frankly, like I'm pro.
Good for you. I think I am too. I don't know. I didn't think that he was going to get another power conference OC job. I don't know why I felt that way, but I'm glad that he did. I think it's interesting. If there were ever a way to put more eyes on that weird situation over there, this is it. I saw John tweeted out a little bit earlier, like the Bobby Petrino, Jordan Hudson meme potential here is going to be absolutely crazy. It's just going to be wild to see. And I mean, I have no doubt that he'll be able to go over there and they'll be able to move the football and score points at North Carolina pretty quickly. I don't know how those personalities mesh. I don't know what, experiences they have with one another. But I'm low key super intrigued to find out. Like I'm going to have to get a subscription to like one of the North Carolina boards just so I can follow it throughout the course of the spring and summer.
So I see our boy Tunis House here says the Mallet connection is real, which obviously, Mallet played in there. But now that I'm really thinking about it, the Patriots did draft a lot of Razorbacks. You remember they drafted Jake Beckett, Trey Flowers, Ryan Mallett. Brooks Ellis was a little bit later, and I don't even know if they really drafted him. But like there was a while there where they took a ton of Razorbacks, a lot of which came under by Petrino. And I remember actually in the moment someone having a story about, oh yeah, Bill, he really trusts Bobby. And so, his evaluations matter. Maybe it goes back to that. Maybe they have some type of connection before, but it just seems like they're two like football guys that respect each other. And, they had an opportunity to work together. I'm all for this, man. Yeah. And if you're Bill, who are you going to get that was better than Bobby, frankly?
Right. Yeah, that's also very true. God, man, it's going to be crazy to see. Now I'm kind of wondering, I don't know, I guess it doesn't really matter, but will any Arkansas guys hit the portal and go over there now because of Bobby? Because like nobody hit the portal when Bobby took over for the interim. And that was notable at the time. We were thinking, shoot, man, they might lose some guys, especially on defense or whatever. But it all kind of stayed intact. And we've had a handful of announcements of guys running it back and everything. Who knows how they really felt about all that. But I wonder if we see anyone of note from this past year's offense who hits the portal and then goes and plays for Bobby and Chapel Bill.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, frankly, there's not a ton of candidates for that because, like, there's
Peyton
not that many.
Cam Shanks.
yeah, Cam Shanks. Bobby, we know Bobby loves watching the Cam Shanks film. I don't know. The thing is, Bill Belichick, they should have a ton of money because Bill's making like $10 million. I feel like they spent a lot of money in NIL last year. They were one of the bigger spenders, which is, by the way, proof that this isn't just some fairy tale land where you just load a bunch of money up and all of a sudden you're good at football. But yeah, I bet they'll be pretty aggressive in the portal. I don't think they're poaching KJ from us.
No.
You're not taking our KJ.
No, not happening.
You're not taking CJ Brown.
No, can't have CJ Brown. Sorry.
You can't take Jaylen Brown either because he's in the middle of rehab. You can't make a move across the country in the middle of rehab. So
yeah,
as long as they don't take Jaden Platt, I mean, I think Jaden Platt would be the one that would make me nervous actually because he's been around Bobby a lot. Yeah. That's maybe the one that I'm nervous about. But nah, we're keeping Jaden Platt. Yeah. Someone in the state of Arkansas, someone listening, drop the bag for Jaden Platt to stay. Come on.
Yeah, do that. And this is a perfect segue here too because we're talking about money and portal and everything else, and we are getting closer and closer to, you know, portal palooza for Arkansas football. This is going to be nuts, man. I don't know if people understand that because of the changes to the calendar and everything, just how crazy this is going to be. Like, it's always nuts. This is going to be like on steroids because yes, all you have to do is enter the portal during the window that's cut down now, and you can commit to your school whenever. But because this doesn't start until January, if kids are going to be here for spring ball and everything like that, they got to get committed. They got to get signed. They got to get enrolled. So the portal window opens on January 2nd. And I think the last day to get signed up for classes is the 16th, either the 16th or 18th. So it's like 2 weeks or just over 2 weeks. And in that time, Andrew, I mean, Arkansas is going to add at least a couple dozen, I mean, potentially upwards of 30 transfers. And it's no exaggeration in that span. Like, it's going to be absolutely crazy. And so, you know, while, you know, people can't officially enter yet until the 2nd, you're seeing a ton of guys who are starting to announce their intentions that they will enter the portal as soon as it opens. We've seen a handful of Razorbacks who have done that. But what I wanted to talk to you about here, there were mixed reactions. There have been mixed reactions, I feel like, with Razorback fans on like every coach Ryan Silverfield has brought with him from Memphis. Some people are like, oh, cool, I get it, continuity, fine. Some people are like, no, Memphis, mid, bad, don't want it. Okay. Shortly following his hire, we sure didn't have much enthusiasm when it came to the thought of Silverfield bringing a bunch of his guys over with him from Memphis. And I wonder what the tenor of those conversations are now that he's kind of settled into the job a little bit. Everybody's used to the hire. They've turned the page. This is a Silverfield era, because after Memphis's bowl game this weekend, there was a flood of their players who announced their intentions to hit the portal. So what I want to do, we're going to make a game out of this. We're going to play a little game of yay or nay on these Memphis dudes who hit the portal and whether or not we want them to come here and be Razorbacks. So I'll throw a name, a position, a little bit of details on them, and we'll let you do the yay or nay, and then folks in the chat can do this too.
I'm going to give you a little more than yay or nay, just a heads up.
Please do.
But I'm going to play the game, yes.
Yeah, of course. All right, let's start with former Razorback commit and a starting linebacker for Memphis last season, Everett Russaw. Now, he was actually a Michael Scherer commit, Andrew, which I think is very interesting. Spent 2 years at UAB. He had 125 tackles over 2 years there. He had 6 tackles against Arkansas when they came to Fayetteville when he was with UAB. Transferred to Memphis. He had 64 tackles, 2.5 sacks, and 2 forced fumbles and an interception this season. So there's that. He had 4 stops in Memphis's win over the Hogs. I'm looking at this and I'm thinking the Razorbacks, you know, they hope to retain Bradley Shaw, but you're losing Xavier Sawyer, you're losing Steven Dix, Tavion Wallace hitting the portal. Maybe Wyatt Simmons is a youngster who will probably command some more snaps. The Hogs definitely need help at linebacker. Could Everett Russaw be one of the answers there?
So I'm inclined to say yay on Everett Russaw. And you touched on it there. Bradley Shaw is the guy that, if all goes according to plan, Bradley Shaw should be your best linebacker. Like he's a guy that's on a very positive trajectory. And so I'm taking that context into account. I think Russaw is a guy that has a ton of experience, which right off the bat, like just the experience helps. Being in the room, he's been around these coaches, knows the defense. You need guys like that. I don't know if he's going to be a star or anything like that, if he's going to be a guy that's going to be a plus player in the SEC necessarily. But I think if you're bringing in a guy to be maybe your second or third linebacker, he doesn't have to be a star, you know? And so I'm inclined to say yes for him. I wouldn't want that to be their only linebacker addition necessarily, but I'm definitely a pro Everett Russaw. I liked him as a player coming out of high school. I remember writing, I had to write little things back in the day for each commit or whatever. I was helping Danny out, and I remember having to write a little write-up on him. I like Russaw, man. Like I think he's and again, the experience is huge. 2 years at UAB, played a ton at Memphis. Like that's a lot of snaps that are hard to replace. I'm yay on Russaw.
I like that a lot. I am too, for a lot of the reasons you said there, and I'm with you. It can't be their only addition there. I don't think he needs to necessarily be a guy for you. Like if Arkansas was to go out and get a pretty confident that he's a starting caliber linebacker in there to go along with Bradley Shaw, and then you have a guy like him who you know is going to be in the rotation, who's played for Silverfield, familiar with Arkansas, great. Yeah, I'm all on board with that. Somebody asked about his size there. He's listed at 6. I've seen him at 6'2" or 6'3", but 230 pounds. So, you know, he's got the size that you need to be able to play in the SEC. The next man up here is a defensive back, Kamari Wilson. Whew, this is easy, but I'm gonna do the thing anyway. And I know that this is your favorite thing in the world, Andrew. Former 5-star prospect, top 50 player in his high school class, according to one service or whatever. But played a couple years at Florida. His first full season, he had 39 tackles at Florida, so that was interesting. Transferred to Arizona State, and he was a Jag. He was just a guy for that Kenny Dillingham team that went to the college football playoff. But a good experience. But then he winds up at Memphis this past season. He had 84 total tackles, 4 passes defended, 2 forced fumbles, 2 interceptions. One of those picks came against Arkansas. In addition to his 8 tackles there, he played the Tiger position for them, which I'm assuming that's like the hog. Maybe, I don't know. But this feels like a no-brainer. Arkansas needs a lot of help in that secondary. We got a guy with SEC experience, coming off of a very, very productive year for the coach who's coaching your football team now. And even though he didn't play that much, he was on a college football playoff team last year. It seems like just a dude that you just got to get.
100%. This is a no-brainer, like you said, complete easy yay for me for a lot of reasons. One, Arkansas doesn't have much going on in the secondary, so we're not in a position to be, turning down any secondary players, frankly. But I'm definitely not turning down one who has a lot of experience, like you mentioned, was at Florida. I don't know how much, I don't know if him and Ron Roberts, they had to have crossed paths a little bit. Now, he didn't play much at Florida. So, I don't know if they crossed paths and maybe Ron Roberts saw him and said, he needs a few years of seasoning or whatever. And now he's gotten that and he could come back. I don't know. But, he's the guy that bounced around 2 big programs and then finally got some experience at Memphis. And the experience went very well. I was looking at some PFF grades earlier today. He had a 77.5 overall grade. His coverage grade was over 80, which over 80 is good, but it's like people don't understand you don't see many PFF grades over 80. Like you have to be actually good for that to happen. And now you're playing in the AAC, whatever. But experience, the pedigree, been around some other good programs, been around some Power 5 players, knows what it takes at that level. And earlier in his career might not have been ready, might not have been at that level, but he knows what it looks like. He knows what it's like to be a part of a legitimate organization and, try and battle for position there. And then got a lot of really good experience there. I think he played like 120 snaps for Arizona State that year, which, like you said, just a guy, like that's a good description of it. I think those snaps are still valuable. And then he gets like 750 snaps at Memphis this past year. I'm all on board. I think, frankly, and by the way, this isn't just one of those, we're taking a guy from Memphis because our coaches or whatever. Kamari Wilson will be one of the top safeties in the portal. Like, I don't know when the rankings will come out. He will be one of the top safeties available in the portal, period. Not just from the AAC, not just for Arkansas. He'll have a list of suitors, if I had to guess.
Yeah, 100% agree with that. I saw Ryan put it in the chat there. It said in all caps, a lot of suitors. Yes, he will.
And you got to hope that Arkansas staff that has some familiarity can, have a head start there. You're going to need that head start because he is going to be a big one. So drop that bag, get him.
And don't try to do the familiarity discount thing either. Yeah, drop the bag and use your connections there to get that kid. He'd be a big one. By the way, this segment just got longer because multiple Memphis players have entered the portal, notable ones in like the last 2 minutes. So we're going to keep rolling through these here. But next one up, starting safety, Chris Bracey. Now, this is another guy, Andrew, who he spent 2 years at UAB. I didn't realize there was a pipeline here. I don't know what happened, if like a coach came over or what, but he spent 2 years at UAB, didn't really do much at all. But then he was at Memphis this past season, 81 tackles, 9 passes defended, forced a fumble, and had a pick. I am saddened to report that Bracey his forced fumble came against Arkansas.
He was the Mike Washington one.
So I think we know what that means. He also had, for what it's worth, 4 pass breakups against Alex Golish in South Florida. What do we think about this dude?
So this is a yay for me, but I'm just going to be completely transparent here. This is a yay for me only because Arkansas has zero depth in the secondary. You listed off the stats, which are pretty solid, and look, like that's a lot of valuable experience. He's been in the system, yada, 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 whatever. I don't think he's the same level of player as Kamari Wilson based on the PFF grades, based on just my very light digging. But like I said, Arkansas has literally like 2 defensive backs in the entire room right now. So beggars can't be choosers. This is a yay for me because I think you need as many guys that know the coaching staff and have been around. I'll take him. I'm not nearly as excited about this one as Kamari Wilson. And that's, no disrespect to him, but I like that he's made some plays in some games, been around a while. But I think this is more of like a solid AAC player that you'll take in the SEC. But I wouldn't want him to start at safety necessarily. But 100% a take because what else are we going to do?
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. We got 3 more to discuss here. I just had 1. Now I've got 3. This one I'm very interested to hear your thoughts on, Andrew. True freshman quarterback A.J. Hill Jr. 6'5", 235 pounds. He was a 4-star, top 150 prospect, the number 11 quarterback in his class. So he was ranked significantly higher than Madden Iamaleava was in that class. If you're wondering the type of prospect he was, he had an Arkansas offer. He visited Texas A&M. He visited Florida. He visited Duke. He visited Florida State. He was originally committed to Deion Sanders at Colorado, and he winds up at Memphis. I don't know if he started or not. He played a ton against UAB. He went 13-25, 175 yards, a tutty and a pick. He went 6 for 7. I swear to God, it was 6 or 7 in the bowl game for 48 yards the other day. He's going to have 4 years of eligibility remaining. We know that Arkansas probably going to add a portal quarterback, at least one. My question isn't, is A.J. Hill a take for Arkansas? My question is he the guy that you bring in to compete with KJ Jackson and you go, okay, one of these 2 guys is going to be our quarterback and we're good with that, AJ versus KJ?
So I would say, given that criteria, maybe not. I would like for them to go out and get a quarterback that has played a little bit more. I know he had some, played in some games this year, and he's young. If you played at all as a true freshman, that's cool. I would probably like to see them, if you're going to bring in someone to really compete with KJ Jackson and like a guy that you, like you said, would be willing to start right away in the SEC. I mean, listen, I'm good with saying yay here just because I'm betting on the evaluation, like you said, top 150 prospect. Frankly, he would be one of the more highly regarded quarterback recruits that Arkansas's had on campus in a while, which is saying something because they've had a lot of 4-star quarterbacks. But yeah, that would be very interesting to me. I don't know how I would feel though about like the quarterback competition being between KJ Jackson, who has about 30 college snaps in his career, and another guy who has like 30 college snaps, but I would probably sign up for it.
I know. Yeah. I think I'm with you, man. It's crazy because I feel the same way of, yeah, this dude is way too talented to not get him in here. You have to do that. He was a Silverfield handpicked guy, 4 years of eligibility. There's just a lot of potential there. But yeah, it's like, man, KJ's got, limited experience. This kid has even more limited experience. That would be putting you in it's like there's high potential there, but you just don't know for sure. I would still, I wouldn't go out and get like anything crazy, but certainly somebody, even if it's like a G5 dude who was a, starter or whatever, who's just got a lot of playing football experience to have in that room. I think that would be really important, but I'm 1000% a yay. Get him in here.
Curtis, I'm going to have to repeat what you've already said because I can tell it didn't land in the chat. This is not a question of would Arkansas take him or not.
Exactly.
Obviously, you take him.
Yep.
The question is, would that be enough there where now your quarterback room is done and you're good with the competition being him and KJ Jackson? And that's where my hesitation comes in, where I'm like, I'd kind of like to have someone who's started a few games in the Power 5 level or whatever and has, been around, knows offense and been around college football for a while. But yeah, of course I would take him. And hell, I mean, listen, so I always say, like, I'll trust Silverfield's evaluations. He's been around him. If Silverfield views him as his quarterback of the future, I will gladly view him as the quarterback of the future. You know what I mean? Like, I'm cool with that. But I would like someone with some experience, even if it is just a random Cade Fortin type of guy.
Right. Yeah, I'm so glad. I was getting ready to ask, who was the guy that kind of fit that description a couple years ago? Yeah, Cade Fortin. Thank you. That would be interesting for sure. Okay, so two more here that we got to go through. I don't have as much information on them off the top, but I'll do the best I can. From Matt Zenitz, he says Memphis star linebacker DeMarco Ward is entering the transfer portal. Ward, who began his career at Florida State, posted 63 tackles and 2 pick sixes this season. That's pretty impressive stuff. I'm pulling up his stat page here now. And what did he do at Florida State? Nothing. He didn't do anything in his 2 years at Florida State. 12 total tackles there. But yeah, 63 of them this year. He forced a fumble. He had 2 interceptions. What do you do against Arkansas? He's 6'2", 215, by the way.
So a little small.
Yeah, a little bit small there. He had 3 tackles in the game
I'm seeing
against
him
Arkansas.
on PFF. He's listed as a safety.
Is he? They had him in a linebacker, so maybe he's one of those hybrid type
He
guys.
might be one of those box guys, but yeah, the PFF grades are fine.
Okay.
He looks like more like a run defense. Like his run defense grade's pretty good. Tackling grade's pretty good. Coverage grade, not great. So that's an interesting one. I would defer to some of the more defensive gurus in the chat that could tell me more about, hey, he's going to play here. And this is a guy that entered the portal 10 minutes ago. So I'd be interested to hear like, hey, where's he going to play? Is he kind of a, box safety? Is he a linebacker? Is he a nickel? Like, what is it here? But no, he played 643 snaps this year. That's a lot of snaps. And then he played 88 snaps last year at Florida State, 15 as a freshman. I'm okay with that. I would take him, but that would be more of a depth piece for sure.
Yeah, I feel you. Sutton Smith.
Let's talk about
the running back is also going to enter the portal here. This is a guy that we talked about a lot, like right away when Silverfield was the guy, and we were thinking, well, who would we want him to bring over? And both pretty quickly we were like, oh, that's Sutton Smith, dude. And it was interesting because did he kill Arkansas? Hold up. Let me look at this real quick. So against Arkansas, Sutton Smith, he's 5'9", 185 pounds. Against Arkansas, he went, 12 carries, 147 yards, and a touchdown. And the week before that, against Troy, he had 18 carries for 113 and 2 touchdowns. Like, he was on this crazy pace. And then the rest of the year, for whatever reason, 7 carries, 10 carries, 5 carries, 10 carries, 2 carries, 2 carries, 7 carries, 6 carries. Like, his workload just completely dropped off of a cliff there. And I don't know why. I have no idea why. But at any rate, he finishes the season with 102 carries for 669 yards and 7 touchdowns. And then I'm pretty sure he was a return guy as well. In 2025, he had reception-wise, he had 20 receptions for 109 yards. Return-wise, he returned 15 punts for 125 yards, 5 kickoffs for 155 yards. He took one to the house. He had a 99-yarder that he took to the house there. So you've got that, running back, return man type combo there. I'm a little bit, I just want to know why he stopped getting any carries at all for Memphis down the stretch of the season. But I remember him from that game against Arkansas. He is a dude that I feel like Arkansas could use for sure.
100%. And make no mistake, like, I know we keep talking about some of these guys as like depth pieces and stuff, and it sounds disrespectful. 5'9", 185 from the AAC. You're not bringing him in to be Mike Washington. You're not bringing him in to be your bell cow. And you mentioned the usage rate. I wonder if that factored in. If maybe early in the year they were using him a lot, and then they're like, oh crap, this 185-pound running back is starting to break down. So as a Hog fan, if you're, I think you should be excited. If Sutton Smith comes to Arkansas, you should be excited, but you do have to understand what it is, that this is not going to be a high workload. This is a change of pace guy who maybe is, we'll see what Cam Shanks does. Could just be your return guy. Even if, hell, if you bring him in and all he does is, third down, catch passes out of the backfield and return kicks, that's fine with me. That's perfectly fine. I would imagine there would be a way they could use him offensively. And plus, you got a guy in Braylon Russell who, if you're worried about size in the running back room, thank God you have a 245-pound back there just ready to carry the load. But yeah, I would be perfectly fine with Sutton Smith. He's a good player. Like, I watched him multiple years at Memphis. He's there's something there for sure. He's a talented kid.
He is. What I would like to see from Arkansas at that position is you have Braylon and another running back as your real 1-2 punch. I see a lot of people saying Cam Settles. Oh, maybe. You know what I mean? Like if he becomes what we want him to, then sure. But do we have enough of a sample size here to be like, yeah, we're going to roll with Braylon Russell and Cam Settles, and this is going to be like a super potent SEC rushing attack?
Right.
I don't know. Like, I don't want Settles to go anywhere, and I'm still excited about his future, but it would be nice to have a little bit of a more known commodity there. Regardless, Braylon, some other running back, you kind of got your 1-2 punch there. And then I would like a guy like Sutton Smith as your change of pace, your gadget guy, who also helps in special teams. I think there's certainly a market there for him. Seems like a no-brainer type of addition to me.
I'll also just add that like running back has always been a position more so in the NFL level. College is a little bit different, but running back is a type of position that is obviously you're dependent on your circumstances. So if you're like have a certain amount of resources, I wouldn't allocate a ton of resources to running back if I don't know if I'm going to have a good O-line, or I don't know if I'm going to have a good quarterback, or don't know how my receivers are. I'm kind of okay to have a few just like okay running backs that we feel good about, which would be Sutton Smith, Braylon Russell, and maybe one other guy. I would be okay with like kind of not taking, like we always talk about big swings. And by the way, while we've been having this discussion, I've been seeing people bitching about, well, we got to take big swings. Okay, no doubt. Obviously, that's just not the conversation we're having right now. But if we are taking big swings, I'm okay with it not being at the running back position. Like I would rather take a big swing at wide receiver, or take a big swing at defensive end, or take a big swing at corner, something like that. I think running back's the type of position that if you have everything else in a row, you can really make it work with mediocre running backs.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And yeah, that's an important clarification there. It's like we said at the top of the segment here, Arkansas is going to bring in probably 30 plus transfers. And yes, they got to go out and get some studs, some dudes. They got to go out and get double-digit amount of starters for this football team. I'm not saying take these 6 Memphis guys that we talked about and plug them into starting for the SEC and you're good to go. No, not by any means, but in positions where you're starved for depth, having guys who can come in and be competent players in your 2 deep, and maybe a couple of them who can be real solid contributors for you. Yes, but no, just bringing over Memphis players is not going to solve Arkansas's problems, but it can certainly help them it's a complete rebuild of this roster here, no doubt. Okay, let's get into your chats and see what everybody's got going on in here. First, got to tell you about our friends over at Hickey and Hull Law Partners here in Arkansas, where they handle matters such as divorce, custody, criminal, civil litigation, and more. They push the case forward for their clients, advocating for them in a diligent and consistent manner from start to finish. They know every case they take is important, and they strive to give each one the utmost time and care that it deserves. Hickey and Hull have law offices across the state of Arkansas in Fayetteville, Fort Smith, Little Rock, and Mena. You can call them today at 479-434-2414, or you can check out their website, hickeyandhull.com, or just scan the QR code right there on your screen. It's Hickey and Hull Law. Things are about to get better. All right. Let's see what's going on in this chat. Let me get organized here. Yeah, we pulled this. I'm pulling it up again from Pigman, the positivity only stream. So far, so good. There's been some healthy debate, but we're hanging in there. Most of the yelling and consternation has been directed towards Cats, which, I mean, that's the way it should be in here. He's accepted that role, and like we're waiting for we're waiting for Carter Knox to accept his role on this basketball team. Cats has accepted his role in this chat and is doing okay. So.
What movie is it where the guy says, you need people like me that you can point to and say, that's the bad guy? That's Cats, though. We do need a villain.
Yeah, I think so.
Is that Godfather? Am I tripping?
I don't know.
Okay, anyways, move on.
Smitty says, Bobby to UNC as OC is a pretty good gig, if you ask me. I
would agree.
Yeah. I just thought, I don't know that I thought he was going to be done. I guess I was thinking he was going to take a smaller head coaching job or something like that. This is pretty high profile. I mean, it's ACC, and it's obviously like the Belichick angle and everything. This is a good job for him to get, for sure. So good on him.
Hey, by the way, I can't remember. Maybe John tweeted about it. Very possible Bill Belichick gets fired, in which case I can't think of a better interim head coach candidate than Bobby Petrino, could he?
There is no better interim head coach than one who just went 0-7 for sure. That's
Can't find a better one than that.
That's pretty good. Let's see. Austin from work says, feels like it's been a week since Houston. Still hurts. Yeah, I'm over it today. I did a rewatch yesterday, and that didn't help. Because I don't know. Right after the game, I was so convinced, Andrew, like, man, they just weren't ready to play out of the gates, and they struggled so much in the first 10 minutes, but they didn't. It was 19-17, 7 minutes into the game. Like, they were going back and forth with them there. It was 3 minutes and 20 seconds, that 21-2 run. You lost the 40-minute basketball game in 3 minutes. Like, credit to Houston for doing everything that they did there. But man, it irritates me so much that for whatever reason, there's been multiple occasions this year where teams are going to go on runs, but it just snowballs on them. Like, it goes from snowball to avalanche on Arkansas real quick. I remember it happening against Duke when Arkansas had the lead, and then you blink and they're down by a dozen. Now they fought back and took the lead in that game, but you just, against really good teams like that, you've got to be able to stop a run. And it was back to back to back to back turnovers that led to layups, like 4 in a row. And it was 4 different guys. And it's just like, what the heck are we doing here? I was so mad at Cal. I was like, why is he not calling a timeout? He actually did. When it got to 11, when it got to 28-17, he called a 30, and then he just didn't call another one when it got to 40-19 or whatever the heck it was. Probably felt like he needed to save some for the rest of the game or something. I don't know, but they've got to be able to chill out on that stuff. It killed him, man. And it corresponded directly with Brazil, second foul, comes out of the game, and the game goes to hell in a handbasket right away. It's very irritating.
Well, it just sucks. It's not like it's something that's been a storyline this season. Arkansas's taken great care of the basketball.
Yeah.
Outside of that 3-minute, 20-second stretch, they took great care of the basketball in that game. I mean, they had literally outside of that stretch, they had 5 turnovers in the entire game.
Yeah.
Which, if you're under 10, you're taking amazing care of the basketball. They finish at freaking 12. It's like, it sucks that there's these little moments, and like we say all the time, those are the moments that dictate a game, and you just kind of knew in that moment that's when the game was decided, and we lost.
Yeah. Sometimes I roll my eyes sometimes when you hear a coach say, yeah, it was just uncharacteristic. And Cal said that in his post game, but it really was. Yeah. But and again, it's not taking anything away from Houston. Like, they dictated the way that they played during that run. That was awesome. But it was just very unlike Arkansas to just, I don't know. It was like an out-of-body experience, man.
Hey, sometimes you just got to tip your hat,
Yeah, seriously.
You just got to tip your hat a little bit.
Omri, good to hear from everybody, says, I'm not saying I'm happy we lost. I'm just saying maybe it was good to get that loss over with now with a rising Houston team. Big-time experience for the guys. Yeah, I mean, they showed the resolve that they needed to, and they fought back. And I think there was enough. When you're this good of a team, there's no moral victory type things there, but
sure.
There are things that Arkansas can take away from that on film and feel pretty good about. Like, I would have that 3.5 minute stretch playing on repeat of we're never doing this again. But the way that they responded, the success they had offensively, Kelvin Sampson, he was only halfway joking after the game. He was like, dude, I haven't run a zone since I was coaching at Montana Tech. This, we had to do this. And, Tennessee beat Houston, and Kelvin Sampson listed all the teams that they played after the game and said, Arkansas is the best team we played. So, great, hang the banner. Kelvin Sampson thinks you're good, but it does go to show you that, this team's going to be fine. They just got to figure some things out. And hopefully this was kind of at least from a defensive standpoint and, remaining poised when a team's making a run standpoint, maybe that's exactly what they needed. I hope.
Well, anytime you play a tough non-conference game and it doesn't go your way, it's easy to say, well, dang, I wish we'd have just played, Idaho Tech today. That would have been better. I just I'm okay. I'm glad that we did this. To Omri's point, I'm glad that this happened. Some teams play to win, we play to learn, and we learned a lot. But seriously, I do think it's actually and everyone knows this. If you've been around sports, it can actually be the worst thing for your team sometimes to get on a roll and to get that momentum and get everything rolling downhill. And you kind of get this feeling of invincibility when you get that bubble popped. it really breaks you sometimes. And I would rather that bubble pop in November and December rather than roll into February, March thinking, oh man, we're 26-2. This is awesome. And then when you get that bubble popped, it's like more of an eye opener where you're like, crap, everything I felt for 4 months was fake. That's harder to overcome in the moment than it is to, lose a game in December, be bummed out about it, think about what you need to do so that at least you're going into these SEC games, going into March, kind of knowing that you can get beat and you need to know what you need to not do to not get beat. Like, I just think it's a way healthier way for the season to roll through, and we'll be glad in February, March that we played these games.
Yes. Yeah, I agree with that for sure. Bassin, the Ozarks, he says, hey, Curtis, what do we need to do to fix our defense? Is it as easy as just staying in front of our man? Yes, actually. I mean, I think that's a huge part of it. And here's the reason why. Like, because you can look at the box score from some of these games and go, damn, man, they gave up 11 threes to Houston. They gave up 13 threes to Texas Tech. 3-point defense must be a major issue for Arkansas. Well, it's not. The reason is these elite guards, man, Kingston Flemings, Michael Brown Jr., Christian Anderson, they're living in the paint. And when you allow guards like that to get lane touches, the defense has to collapse, and they're spraying it out to open shooters. And this Arkansas team is different defensively, where you have to help because you don't have a rim protector on the back end. Big Z was not a good defender, but he was 7'2", and guys were okay gambling a little bit, okay not helping off of shooters too much because he could probably clean it up at the rim. There's no deterrent for guards to go in there and finish at the rim against Arkansas. Nick Pringle ain't blocking anybody's shot. Malik Ewan's not blocking anybody's shot, and Trevin's playing the 4. So that's kind of a tough deal for Arkansas. So, yes, keeping your man in front, and Arkansas has plenty of guys capable of doing that. They just haven't been doing it. Would solve, I think, a lot of their issues. And part of it goes with, like their ball screen defense. Like I saw, where's it at? Oh yeah, from C Black here. He says, "You like us fighting through screens? I feel like we just end up getting on the backside of the guy and chase him all the way into the lane." Yes, Arkansas has an issue with guards coming off of ball screens and being able to get the corner. They're turning the corner on them, and that puts you in a really tough spot. And I think they've got to figure out how they want to defend the ball screens because we're not seeing as much drop coverage as we have in the past. And Z and Jonas were, I don't want to say that they were great at that, but better at that than they would be doing some of the things Arkansas is doing this year. And you don't really have a lot of that this year. So if you're going to hedge, you got to get out there and hedge it. And a lot of times, Ewan, for example, is late. And so you go out there and you try to hedge because you're trying to change the angle of the ball handler. And if he's not doing that, then he's just turning the corner and your guard's behind him. There's nothing you can do about it. Sometimes Arkansas is switching those. And I don't like the way that that's looked. Pringle does a decent job in certain matchups if he switches onto a ball handler. But more often than not, it puts him in kind of a disadvantageous situation. Ewan, I don't like that at all. I would just skip it with them. The only way I'm cool with like the switching 1 through 5, a lot of teams will just switch 1 through 4. If you're going to do it with your center, it needs to be when you're playing small ball with Trevin because he's a guy that can handle that better. I think they look good when they blitz or double those ball screens sometimes. But they're really good at like anticipating that release pass and getting the steal, but you can't do that for 40 minutes. Like they have to figure out how they want to defend ball screens and get really, really good at it. They've tried, a half dozen different things this year. They'll have a little bit of success and they start getting popped. That's definitely a work in progress for them too. But I think that's more of I'm not saying it's all on the big men, but it's certainly not just on the guard that these guys are getting them on their hip. Like the big men have to do their job and pick and roll stuff too.
That's great stuff. Curtis, I've got 2 pieces of breaking news.
Okay.
One football, one basketball. Which one do you want first?
Let's do the football one because I just saw it.
Well, the football one, Ian Giffard has announced he is entering the transfer portal. Is that the one you saw?
Yeah. I saw you retweet it. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, Ian Giffard, defensive tackle, starter on the defensive line for Arkansas, which is just crazy, crazy concept. Listen, Ian Giffard, I'm sure he's a great kid, great man of faith, leader in the community. He's a brother, he's a father, or he's a son. I'm sure he's great. I will not miss watching him play football for the University of Arkansas, but I do hope he goes on to somewhere else and is able to find a coach that can get something out of him. Just didn't happen at Arkansas, and that sucks. But
yeah, he was one that I wanted Arkansas to get back because we just know how thin they are on the defensive line. Anybody with experience, but I would want him back in a different role than he was in this year for sure. Like a two deep guy or a rotation guy as opposed to somebody they really had to lean on. But I'm with you. Like I'm not entirely broken up on this. Was this his third year of college football?
Yes, yeah, he was a redshirt sophomore this year.
Yeah, so it's another body that they're going to have to go get, like another contributor up front on defense that they're going to have to go get. And these guys cost a pretty penny. We don't know what Ian Giffard was commanding from this is what I got to get to return standpoint. And so maybe that factors into it. But yeah, like I don't know. It is what it is. I will never forget what happened when Arkansas played Memphis, frankly. And at that point, I was over it. So
I don't think Ryan Silverfield will forget that either because it was the best moment of his coaching career, and I think he knows who was responsible. But yeah, I'm like you said, Arkansas is going to have to go out and get extra, like a ton of defensive tackles. I mean, like 4 or 5 actually in the portal, maybe.
Yeah,
so I don't look forward to that. And by the way, those are hard to come by. Like Ian Giffard, who isn't even good at football, he is going to command a bag, like genuinely. And it's not going to be a crazy bag. But like I guarantee you, whoever Ian Giffard plays for next year, he ain't doing it for free because defensive linemen are hard to come by. And so, I'm not excited about having to replace so many guys, but yeah, I'm trying to be as like respectful and polite as I can here, Curtis. But I cannot emphasize enough how much I did not enjoy these last 3 years.
Somebody is going to get Ian Giffard out of the transfer portal and make a huge deal out of it and say this was a starting SEC defensive lineman. Oh, baby. And I would be happy to have a conversation with whoever that might be.
I will say this, Curtis, and I'm going to be careful with how I word this. I will be checking wherever he ends up. I want to check in August when they do the updated heights and weights.
Mm-hmm.
And listen, it's always tough when you're talking about these kids' bodies and stuff because not every kid is different. Not every kid has to lose weight. Not every kid has to gain weight. Some guys can play at certain weights and be great. But the big red flag for me last year was when Ian Giffard in the spring was 388 pounds. We come back for fall practice and he's 387 pounds.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, if that's a decision y'all made and said, hey, we want this guy to be at near 400 pounds, that's where he plays. Okay. But I just can't imagine summer workouts. They were like, hey, yeah, let's not trim any weight off of you. I can't imagine that was an Arkansas decision. I will be checking if and look at his next school, if he's 354, I'll be like, whoa, okay. He really maybe like dedicated and got in the weight room. Cool. I have a feeling he's going to be like 384 and we're just gonna be like, okay.
Yeah. I kind of have a feeling that you're right there.
You want the basketball breaking news though?
Yeah, I was gonna say I think I know what that is too, but go ahead.
3 straight SEC Freshman of the Week. Darius Acuff has been named the SEC Freshman of the Week for the 3rd straight week. Obviously we haven't started SEC play, but I think if you keep racking these SEC Freshman of the Weeks up, at some point you're just the SEC Freshman of the Year, right?
Yeah, I mean, I almost feel like he's just got that locked up already. Just name the damn award after him. Mm-hmm. And if somebody has a great week, like if at some point we go Malachi Moreno is this week's Darius Acuff award winner, then so be it. Like if that has to happen once throughout the, Nate Ament has won the Darius Acuff award this week. It's okay.
Ament can maybe get it once or twice.
Oh man, but yeah, I mean, hell, he's earned it. They lost the game or whatever, but he had a career high in points and 7 more assists, more turnovers than he usually has. But he was
balled out on Tuesday too.
Yeah, he was great on Tuesday. Kid's unreal. He's special, man. He is special. I'm doing midterm. We always do the report cards. I'm doing the midterm grades for the Palace tomorrow morning, and it's gonna be hard to nitpick Darius Acuff too much for the way that he's been playing for sure. Where were we? I guess I go back to the chats. That's what we're doing, right?
Yeah. What's crazy is, every time we do a show together, we're always like, oh, dude, we're going to have to really depend on the chat. We haven't been as dependent on the chat today.
No, man. No, like a lot of stuff has happened here, which is cool. I like it. Let's see. Let's get back into it. Hickory Hog says, I feel more confident about being able to correct defensive mistakes than not being able to score the ball. Agreed.
100%.
Yeah, I would rather have this situation than what Arkansas was dealing with last year. And I think they'll get some of that stuff corrected for sure. They'll improve defensively. It's just a matter of how much. Peyton, hope you're doing well, buddy. He says, I think a simple part of the Hog basketball equation is if TB is in double-digit scoring and efficient, then the Hogs will be more than likely in good shape most nights.
I know this is an oversimplification, but it's such a fact, though.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so many of literally, if you were to pick Arkansas's worst games of the year, tell me exactly how Trevin Brazile and Carter Knox played, and I can tell you exactly how Arkansas fared as a team. When those guys don't play well, Arkansas is just a worse team. When those guys play well, Arkansas is pretty freaking hard to beat.
I really appreciate you. This is how I know we're on the same wavelength, man, that you lumped Carter Knox in this conversation, because I don't think Trevin Brazile and Carter Knox have to be great for Arkansas to win games every night. But they can't both suck. And that's going to put you in a really difficult spot. One of those guys has to play well most nights against good teams for Arkansas to win. You can't have the Carter Knox that you've had in 4 of the 5 big games that Arkansas has played this year, and the Trevin that you got against Houston and against Michigan State. It's just not going to get it done. Guys aren't going to play phenomenal every night. Trevin's not going to go for 25 and 9 every night. Carter's not going to have 20 every game like he did against Tech. But you got to have some reliable contributions from at least one of those guys in games like this, because I think you feel pretty good about what you're going to get from Darius Acuff, and like there's a certain level of expected production from certain guys, but Carter and Trevin are way too important to the equation to both suck. And there have been a few games this year where they both have, and that's problematic when it happens for Arkansas. And I agree. I think it's the 2 of those guys as opposed to just one of them.
Well, that's what comes back to the individual player aspect of this. And I know that people use that as a knock on Cal, but it's like, it's kind of like, if it does play out that way, like I just don't see a world where all these individual guys that we talk about, play well and play close to their standard, and Arkansas sucks. Like I just don't, and I'm not saying Arkansas can't lose when Trevin plays well, but I haven't seen it yet this year. So we'll see.
Yeah, honestly. Okay, got one from Katz here. He says, do y'all think Ewan can score on Quaintance? I'm going to do the thing here where I'm nice to you at the beginning. I watched the Kentucky St. John's game, and Quaintance is a difference maker, man. Like he looked pretty good in there for a guy coming back off of injury like that in his first game. Still, you can tell there's still some things that he's not quite 100% with. Deceleration, landing, like he's not quite comfortable with that thing yet. I hope that he stays healthy and he's not moving too fast. You hear the thing where he's like, oh, he was trying to get him to clear him in September or whatever. I don't care about that fluff stuff. They've got a bad track record with managing injuries. And I hope that Quaintance is good the rest of the year, even if that's at the detriment of Arkansas, because he's a really good player. I want him to be out there. He's a difference maker on the defensive end of the floor. I think that's going to be Kentucky's identity, because he doesn't change the fact that they can't shoot. Do I think Ewing can score on Quaintance? Yes, I think he can, and he will. And that's not just the, our guy's better than your guy thing. Quaintance is awesome, man, but I've been sitting here watching Malik Ewan pass out buckets to JT Toppin, who's a great defender, passing out buckets to JoJo Tugler, who's a National Defensive Player of the Year. So do I think he can score on Quaintance? Yeah, I do. If there's one thing that Ewing can do at a high level, it's operate offensively.
Well, and great rim protectors are not always great one-on-one post defenders. Not saying that necessarily applies to Quaintance, but I think a lot of the things that make him a great player and great unique specimen and all that is the rim protection is the big thing. And rim protection is great, but it's like when someone's backing you down in the post and hitting jump hooks on you, your rim protection doesn't really matter all that much unless you're like Wembanyama. I would also say, you mentioned the Tugler thing. What he could do is get Quaintance in foul trouble, which is something that Quaintance, by the way, can do against anybody. But like coming off of a game where I just watched him not only score on Tugler, get Tugler in foul trouble. And pretty much, I got to be honest, Ewan made Tugler irrelevant in the game.
He did. He really did.
Like actually did it. We always talk about how Tugler, that's his thing, is he can take a guy on your team and completely remove them from the game. Malik Ewan did that to Tugler. Now, it didn't matter because Arkansas gave up 94 points on the other end and yada, yada, yada. But that is a thing that happened. And so that gives me a lot of confidence, frankly. And so, yeah, is Ewan going to score 25 on Kentucky or whatever? Probably not. But it's like he could get his little 12-7 and draw 3 or 4 fouls. That would be very effective. And I would also say that, like, it's not like Arkansas's formula to win basketball games has been overly dependent on Malik Ewan to score. Yeah. You know, like he has scored pretty well and done a good job, especially here lately. But it's not like that's Arkansas's gameplay. It's not like we run offense through Malik Ewan all the time. Yeah, that's not like our primary thing.
Yeah, for sure. Trey says, do you guys think this week off helps or hurts the Hogs? Glad we have a warm-up game on Monday before Tennessee. I'm glad they have that warm-up game too. I don't know. Like for me, it's always nice to get this break coming off of a win, but I would have rather played Houston in this game and, take whatever lessons need to be learned from that and then play James Madison in 9 days, as opposed to what they typically do, which is like beat Elon by 100. And then you have that week off and you go straight into, like SEC play and you're shaking off Christmas rust and everything in a game like that. I just like that they've got the James Madison game before Tennessee, to your point there, Trey, personally.
Yeah, I like that. I like having the James Madison game. I would also say that, like, it's Christmas, which is obviously we all know that, but it's like, this is not just your typical week off, which makes this, it could make it, for some teams that can be hard. Your guys go see their families, they come back, and while they're at Christmas break, you got the uncle that's pulled them aside and said, you need to be scoring more. That happens. That's a very real thing. It makes it hard to evaluate, though. But the good thing is everyone else is dealing with the same context. I'm sure there's some teams that are playing or, games here and there, but like most teams are like Tennessee, their guys are also going to go home for Christmas and, see their families and all that. And so we can't really give you an answer because I don't know what it looks like when, Carter Knox flies back to Tampa on Christmas Eve. I don't know what that's going to look like and how that's going to affect him. But like you both said, I'm really glad we have the warm-up game.
Sometimes you go home for Christmas with a teammate and then you come back with COVID and you don't get to play at Mississippi State. So, there are ways that this can go poorly for you, even though you were making a personal decision at the time. If you know. Anyway, from Ryan, he says, I'm surprised that we lose 4 spots for losing to a top 10 team after only gaining 3 spots by winning against a top 15 team. Yeah, I'm with you, man. It's a little irritating. And sometimes it's predicated on, you got to remember, like, it's not just Arkansas's result that shapes the polls. Like under normal circumstances, Texas Tech wouldn't have passed Arkansas, but they got one of the best wins anybody's gotten all season against Duke, and so that bumped them up there. I think it's probably tough on voters who, frankly might look at it and go, okay, like Arkansas probably better than Nebraska, but Nebraska was right behind them. They're still undefeated. You know what I mean? And so they switch spots with them or whatever. I think it's a level of that. I'm okay with the drop to 18. It's like the when Arkansas lost to Michigan State and they dropped 7 spots. That's when I was like, this is egregious. Like the punishment doesn't fit the crime. Had they had dropped, here to 20 or 21 or something, I would have been like, all right, this is crazy. I'm okay with this. Although I will say, and I think Louisville was still ahead of Arkansas last week, and they still are now. But when you just get run out of the gym, and like Michael Brown didn't play, I don't care. The net doesn't care. Ken Pom doesn't care. None of those things care. But when you just get your doors blown off like that, I just think it should be a harsher punishment than playing a competitive game with somebody. But whatever. But I understand what you're saying, though.
And it's just simply harder to go up than it is to go down. Like if you lose a game, it's very easy for teams that, even if they didn't play anybody, even if you had a team not play a single game, it's easy for them to jump you when you lost, when you're coming off a loss. Like it's just easy to go down. Whereas sometimes you win and, there's teams above you that also won. And even if their win's not a great win. It's like some of those teams would have that same gripe of, oh, we played one game and we beat James Madison and now we drop behind Arkansas. But what the, it's like, it's just one of those things. And so, but yeah, the number is really the thing for me. Like 18 just kind of looks fair to me. Hey, that sounds about right. If all the metrics were 18, I would feel a lot better, honestly.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Folks, we'll wrap up with some of your chats here in a minute. Got to tell you about our partners over at Bet Saracen. You guys know the drill. It's the #1 sports betting app in the state of Arkansas. If you're not a user, you need to be, and you need to take advantage of their offer, the no strings attached special, where new users can bet $25 and get $125 in bonus bets instantly. All you got to do is download the Bet Saracen app by downloading on your Apple or Android device. And then when you're signing up, use the code INSIDEAR. That's INSIDEAR to get $125 instantly when you bet your first 25. It's Bet Saracen, Arkansas's #1 sports betting app. Andrew, we don't have to spend too much time on this, but I did want to do a little best and worst of the weekend, because it was a notable weekend, and there were a couple things that I wanted to touch on here. Best of the weekend. I want you to go first. Give me your best of the weekend, Andrew.
So, the Texans got their 7th straight win, and it's not my best of the weekend. It was a win that I'm annoyed by. We played the Raiders, who suck, and it's 23-21, but I'm happy that the Texans are continuing to win. It looks like they're going to make the playoffs. They're safe. We're all good. Shout out to Vince from me, the Colts fan who was chirping me earlier in the year. Yeah, not so funny now, is it, buddy? But no, I was happy with that. But I was happy to see 2 Razorbacks get in the end zone yesterday. Shout out to Isaac Tesla, who's just a holiday touchdown merchant. He caught a touchdown on Thanksgiving. He caught a touchdown on opening week, which isn't a holiday, but I guess Labor Day kind of is a holiday. And then catches a touchdown yesterday. The Lions ended up not being able to come back and win, but it was cool to see Tesla get in the end zone. He's had such a funny rookie year because he's caught 9 passes, and all of them have either been humongous plays, one-handed catches, or literal touchdowns. I think he has 4 touchdowns in 9 catches or something crazy like that. So good for him. Hunter Henry also caught a touchdown on Sunday Night Football. I believe the Patriots got a big win. And I see some people in the chat pointing out something that happened. I'm going to leave that to you because I feel like it might be one of your best of the weekends.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It was on my list. I was in our star chats there. Yes, one of my best of the weekend is Jake Paul getting his head rocked. Finally. That was a horrible fight. And and I know some people were shaming Anthony Joshua, it took you 6 rounds to do this or whatever. Jake Paul was running, man. It was really awkward. He was, falling down. Everything about it screamed.
He mixed in the takedowns,
Yeah. If this was you're right. If this was a UFC match, he might have been onto something there. But eventually he got caught, and boy, he got caught. I will say, I will give a little bit of credit to Jake Paul for the way he ate that. He didn't get completely slept.
Sure.
And he got back, he got back up, is the 10 count, everything. It was a clean knockout, but to get his jaw snapped in 2 different places, he wore it better than I would have. I'll just say that, man. So I'll give him credit for it. And, since we know that he's okay, even though he's going to be eating out of a straw for a week or whatever, yes, there was a level of fulfillment of seeing him get rocked. It's about damn time that it happened, frankly.
It was nice. And I got to say, I saw some people doing the thing where they were like, oh man, you got to give respect to Jake Paul. You got to give him his respect. And I'm like, you really don't. Like you said, handled it better. And clearly he's a better boxer than all of us, he would whoop any normal person in boxing. All that's great. But the way the fight played out, one, if you get paid $100 million to do something, you're not that much of a bold guy. You know what I mean? No matter what it is, if you literally gave me $100 million, I would jump off a roof. You know what I mean? It's it doesn't make me bold. That just means I'm doing something as a means to an end. Not saying he's not tough. I'm just saying I don't simply stepping in there is not enough for me to say, wow, what a bold performance. And if you watch the fight, one, Anthony Joshua very clearly did not come in with a, hey, let me kill this guy as early as I can. Yeah. It wouldn't surprise me if he was straight up told to keep it going for a while for entertainment. He didn't really throw too many punches. Even the punch he knocked him out with, he threw it. And I mean, listen, getting punched by Anthony Joshua doesn't look fun. He didn't even throw it with that. Like, he just threw it and connected clean. But like,
Yeah.
it wasn't like he reared back and was like, oh yeah, I'm throwing bombs.
It seemed like he wanted to drop him with the left that he threw right before that, because he nicked him and then he got that big smile on his face. And it was almost like that should have been the one. And then, he took him out.
Yeah. And I mean, like, frankly, like, listen, like, if I were in a ring with Anthony Joshua, I am not trying to tell you that I would be doing anything tough at all. I wouldn't.
No.
But I also wouldn't expect you, if I ran around the ring for 6 rounds and was like, doing all this weird stuff, I wouldn't expect anyone to be like, wow, tough guy Andrew Ellis over there. Like, I'm not saying I would do better, but we don't have to lie and be like, wow, what a warrior. What a warrior this Jake Paul is.
Right.
Got paid $100 million to run around for 5 rounds and then get knocked out. What a warrior.
Yes. Yeah.
Hey, I saw, by the way, I guess it was Ryan in the chat that said Anderson Silva just straight up unaliving Tyron Woodley. Shout out to Anderson Silva, man. One of the all-time great martial artists, just period. Like, that dude is a fighter through and through. That is a tough guy. You're 50 years old. You're going in there and boxing. That's a tough guy.
And I love that it's a boxing match, and he feinted the kick to set up the uppercut. And just poor Tyron Woodley, man, because he was there was a segment of his career where he was the man. He was awesome, and his boxing adventures have kind of left a stain on the legacy there. But
I hope he's made some money while he's been boxing, because it really has not.
I hope so
well
too.
For him.
Yeah, I hope so too. We will not mention the other quote unquote influencer that lost a boxing match over the weekend, because if you get semi-political in here, people get really mad. But
yeah, we're gonna move on.
Yeah, not Top G. Anyway, that's crazy stuff this weekend, man. And then somebody put in the Tony Ferguson. I think somebody put in the chat about Tony Ferguson.
Another big dub for Tony Ferguson.
The way his UFC career ended, it makes me very happy to see him boxing now and just taking dudes' heads off. Good for him, man. Good for him. Worst of the weekend. I want to play this real quick. Have you seen the Ed Cooley thing by now?
Oh yeah, I saw that. That was awesome.
This reminds me of Bryce Harper throwing the helmet. It reminds me of 50 Cent throwing the first pitch. Ed Cooley just gets pissed at the Georgetown basketball game, and he goes to chuck a water bottle. The trajectory made no sense, and he just drills a child. And he apologized for it. He is now suspended for it, as he should be. Wild behavior, but I want to play this video of Ed Cooley assaulting a minor. God, dude. You can see him right there on the left of the bench. I want to play this one more time. Watch this errant throw. Bink.
Dude, Ed Cooley has gotten himself into like 4 of these. I think this is the first time he's thrown a water bottle. Didn't he fight like a student at Georgetown or a student at Providence or something like that?
He's definitely had some. I know he's had some verbal altercations and stuff with fans and everything that probably shouldn't have happened. Some hot mic moments that he's been caught on and everything. Smoking the kid with the water bottle there was wild, bro.
Hey, Cameron, or anybody, while we're talking, can someone pull up the DK Metcalf video? I don't think I can do it right now, but that is my worst of the weekend.
Yes.
Aside from obviously just Arkansas, losing in thorough fashion on Saturday.
Yeah.
DK Metcalf, just stupid. I mean, listen, a lot of these times whenever you're a coach or a player and you do something to the fans, what you do isn't really that egregious. Frankly, even throwing a water bottle is like not that egregious. Like, that kid's life's not in danger or anything. But just when you're in that arena, there has to be you have to be a fan and know I cannot be touched by the players or coaches.
Yeah.
And frankly, the coaches and players should have that same understanding of these fans cannot touch me. And so it's always weird, but it's always going to be tough whenever when you break that fourth wall a little bit. My favorite story is whenever Ron Artest, after the whole Malice at the Palace, they get back to the locker room and he goes, "You guys think we're going to get in trouble for this?" Like, yeah, dude, you're probably getting in trouble. Did you see the DK Metcalf thing, by the way?
I did. Yeah, I did. That was crazy.
Listen, we love the Metcalf family. They serve the Razorbacks well, and shout out to them. But DK Metcalf loves doing the stupidest stuff. For those that did not see, literally there was a blue-haired Lions fan who had like long blue hair that I'm guessing was a wig. I don't know, and he just grabs the hair. And then, he didn't actually punch the guy, but gave him like a shove and kind of looked like he punched him. I'm sure he's going to have to pay a fat fine and may or may not get suspended while his team is in the middle of a playoff race.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Has he spoken on that? Like, did he say what was said to him, or not that it really matters?
Anything? I saw Mike Tomlin was basically just like, I didn't see it.
Nice.
They were like, what happened? And he's like, oh, okay, that's I'll look into it.
Did you see the UConn player yesterday, Silas Demery?
No, what did he do?
They were in the middle of, they were playing DePaul, I think, and they were literally in the middle of a play, and he just sprinted off the floor back into the tunnel. And then Dan Hurley ran back there after him and everything. He got sick, and he had to leave the floor, and he went and yacked. And I guess Hurley said that he had some electrolytes, and then he mixed with pickle juice. I guess he was cramping or something at halftime. And it turned his stomach, and to not go viral and yak on the floor, he just ran off the court in the middle of the game. It's crazy.
Fun fact, Curtis. Have I told you this story about me yakking in the middle of a basketball game?
I don't know. Tell it.
When I was in 7th grade, we had back in my day, we had the 7th grade game and the 8th grade game. And I was in 7th grade, so we played our little JV game essentially. And something happened where we just only had 5 guys. And so, just those 5 guys, we played the entire game. Would have been fine if our coach didn't leave on our full court press. We full court pressed the whole game with 5 guys. And I knew I wasn't feeling good going into the game, but during a timeout, just sprinted over to a trash can, hurled my guts up.
Oh, man.
Came right back and played. And I remember this is another time where people kept congratulating me of being like, oh, man, great job, Andrew, man. You're so tough, man. You stuck it out. And I was just like, I didn't do anything in the game. I was completely useless. And I was like, I don't know if I'm really exhibiting that much toughness, especially because I didn't have any choice. It wasn't like hey, sub me out. I just had to go right back up there. And so that was tough. That was a tough one. But so I can sympathize with anybody. I think I saw you. Did you retweet Dan Hurley or something?
Probably, yeah.
I think I saw the tweet and just had no idea what he was talking about. I was like, okay, interesting.
It's crazy, man. Hey, we'll get back into the chat here. A quick update on our breaking news from earlier from Pete Nako. Sources tell On3 Sports that Arkansas is working to keep Ian Giffard in the fold. So,
okay. Well, I suggest buckets of food. I'm sorry. But no, seriously, listen. Like I said with Ian Giffard earlier, if all I want to see is him make an effort, and I want to see, I want to read the story in August from SEC Media Days where Silverfield is like, yeah, man, Giffard, he's really committed to getting in great shape, and he's he's here, he's turned a new leaf, and he's ready to be great. So
I hope so too. I don't know. Maybe he is announcing that he intends to enter the portal in 10 days the right way, and will be welcomed back. Oh, wait, new coaching regime, I guess. So I don't know.
Yeah,
this has to be a contract dispute, right?
Possibly.
Like, why else would what do you mean working towards keeping him in the fold? It sounds like he has an asking price and is leveraging. I mean, I could be completely wrong, but it just seems like that's what's going on here. Which that's not a knock on Giffard. That's just kind of the way stuff works nowadays. You know what I mean?
Well, listen, we alluded to this when we were talking about him earlier. I was like, I guarantee you he's going to not play for free wherever he goes. I know it seems crazy. You guys watch the same Ian Giffard we watched this year, and you're probably thinking, how the hell could a guy like that get a big bag? It's because of the position he plays, man. Those defensive linemen are really hard to come by, especially ones that have ever played at all. I don't know what that number is going to look like. I don't know what those negotiations are going to look like. But listen, I just hope for Ian Giffard. I mean, he's still pretty young. I just hope that this works out well for him in some way where we can see some version, even if that means he goes to a smaller school. I just want to see him live up to any ounce of the potential he has.
Yeah. Speaking of buckets of food, Little Rock 2517 says, I asked about Ian Giffard the other day because my niece is dating him. Looks like he's in the portal. He will be spending Christmas with us.
Okay, listen, that's very interesting.
Groceries, mom. Listen, this is an SEC defensive lineman, so understand what you're getting yourself into. These boys like to eat, especially defensive and offensive linemen. They can throw down some food, so you better be ready. You better be prepared for that.
And this isn't even a fat joke towards Ian Jafar. Like,
No,
genuinely,
it's not.
like,
This is
if you had Bradley Shaw at your house, I'd be like, bro, feed him. You know, like that's
if we're working on keeping Ian Jafar in the fold, you cannot let that man leave Christmas hungry. Can't let him leave hungry.
Truly,
it's on you.
Yeah, I'll be very interested to hear. So he's cooking a huge brisket, by the way. That's awesome, man. So hey, keep reporting for us and let us know. It sounds like the fate of the Razorback D line is in your hands. Is kind of what it sounds like.
Exactly. And you never know how that stuff goes. Now, if it's a girlfriend situation, that's one thing. But he might try to bring a friend. Sometimes that's how it works. I'm just saying, man, be prepared. Be prepared. Sharkensaw, we appreciate you. Says, feeling validated in my doubts about Houston's defense, but frustrated with ours as well. When we blitz a pick and roll, we're getting too high and allowing straight line paint drives by the guards. It doesn't require a ball screen to get a straight line drive against Arkansas, but I feel you. When they switch, they're getting straight line drives on your big men. They're getting straight line drives in any situation. It's not just the blitzing of the ball screens there. It's a problem area for Arkansas, and it's an everybody thing too, which is kind of what's irritating me right now. Your best two on-ball defenders are DJ and Billy. As important as Billy Richmond was to Arkansas getting back in that game, he was a big reason why it got away from him, because when Flemings was living in the paint during that 21-2 run, he was blowing right by Billy Richmond multiple times in there. So they got to figure some stuff out on that end of the floor. And it's weird because they're super athletic and they're very long. Like, there's no reason why they wouldn't be able to defend the way they need to defend, but crazy times. A few more and then we'll get out of here. Just want to answer this one from Jaden Sports Fan. Says, Curtis, I'm not sure if you're planning to do this on the pod, but I'd love to see you predict the game-by-game conference schedule for Arkansas. I will do that. I've done it already, but obviously we've got like a body of work and stuff now. So we kind of know what some of these teams are and everything. So I'm definitely going to revamp that. It'll be after they play James Madison, like before SEC play starts, maybe a New Year's Day thing or something. Heartbroken Hog says, portal season is going to be an insanely fun 2 weeks, multiple Inside Arkansas shows every day of the week. Yeah, that's going to be a thing.
Like everything else with college sports these days, there is no precedent for what we're about to endure. Like we've never done this specific circumstance where the portal opens at the certain date that it does, it closes just a couple weeks later, and there's no spring portal. Mm-hmm. Last year during the month of January, we did a lot of portal stuff, we did a lot of talking, but we always kind of said, well, there's that spring window that we could lean on. None of that. So we've never had your entire roster determined in a 2-week stretch like this before. So this is kind of uncharted territory. And of course, now we also have a new coach. And so it's going to be, we don't really know what to expect, but we know we're going to be working a lot and we're prepared for it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly right. We were talking about some of those linebackers from Memphis. Addison says, would he be better than Sori and Dix were this year? I don't know.
I mean, I would hope that.
I hope, but
Sori in particular was just not himself. He was not healthy. I don't know if he was ever healthy at any point in the season, which I know is kind of a cop-out, but it's like with some of these guys, you just see it. And I mean, Bumper Pools last year. Do y'all remember Bumper Pools last year at Arkansas where he was completely useless? He didn't just get bad at football. I mean, just guy wasn't healthy. And so I would like to think that if Russo or whoever it is just healthy and trying hard, they could at least be, better than that.
Yeah, for sure. Finch says, hey, Curtis, how do we feel about Contreras getting traded? Did you see that?
Yeah, got traded.
Listen, man,
era's over.
Yeah, Bloom is not messing around. He's serious about the rebuild. It's going to be a long season for the Cardinals, but it's going to be for the best, man. Sometimes you just got to tear it all down and start over. It is interesting that he's trading the whole team to the Red Sox, which, is where he was before. But they flipped Sonny Gray over there. Now they flipped Wilson Contreras. They got a couple pitching prospects. One dude who actually had a pretty good run in the show this year, a righty that I'm pretty excited about. And then they got a youngster that's got a lot of upside. So we'll see. Like it'll be one of those things where it's a couple years down the road before you know whether or not that was a good deal. But Good for Contreras because he's been a good Cardinal. He's been a good teammate. He wanted to stay, but I think they're doing right by him when they're tearing everything down. Like, dude, go give yourself a chance to win. You're 30 some odd years old now. Like your window is getting shorter and shorter. Go find some success. And now, there's a couple other guys maybe they can get rid of, and we'll see what it looks like. But I'm not that upset. I'm upset to see Wilson go, but I get it. Ryan wants Finley for that other quarterback.
TJ Finley.
Hey man, you want experience? Here's your 9th year.
Yeah, I'll consider me in the pass category on TJ Finley in any way, shape, or form.
KJ, AJ, and TJ.
I like that. I mean, that.
I think we might be onto something. Austin says KJ, AJ, and DJ Lagway.
Ooh, now
I like
DJ
that better, but
by the way, so DJ Lagway, I remember talking about him preseason and being like, "Are we sure this guy's going to be like the greatest quarterback we've ever seen?" Because his freshman year didn't really go all that well. Now I'm on the other end where I think everyone is kind of out on DJ Lagway and they think he sucks. And listen, his 2 years at Florida didn't go well. I think that's a good buy low spot for somebody. Like, I think I'll be very interested to see where he goes. I think the circumstances at Florida were a little bit weird. But yeah, I mean, I think DJ Lagway is kind of an interesting one. I don't think he's going to go to Arkansas, by the way.
No.
But I will be interested because that's a really talented kid that I think was also hurt this year.
Who's Lane Kiffin going to get? Could it be Lagway? Could it be Arizona State's guy? I forget his name.
Levitt or whatever.
Yeah, Sam Levitt. The Iowa State quarterback. I mean, he might go to Penn State, but yeah, like there's some.
Did he enter the portal, Rocco?
I think so.
Oh wow, I guess that makes sense. I mean, new coach and all that. But yeah, that Rocco would be an interesting one. The guys like him and Levitt, like the older guys, I think are solid, but like I don't think they're like, next level game changers. So I think someone's going to end up overpaying for those cats.
Yeah, wouldn't surprise me. From David, he says, "Do you guys think Silverfield has already talked to these guys, and that's why they are in the portal?" I'm gonna say no because that's against the rules. But I mean,
well, he's definitely talked to him before because like he coached him.
Something tells me there are ways to get messages across if you need to get them across. You know what I mean?
Sure. In terms of is that why they're in the portal? Maybe not, but I bet a lot of those guys were probably planning on entering the portal. Once their coach left, they were going to enter the portal no matter what. But yeah, I'm not going to be a dummy and be like, oh yeah, no, they've not spoken to any of these guys. I would imagine there's been at least some light dialogue.
They might just not be part of the plans for Big Chuck Huff.
It's very possible.
I mean,
Hey, Big Chuck. He's going to do good work at Memphis, man. I'm just telling you, he's going to do
next time Arkansas is having a coaching search, we will be talking about Chuck Huff, and people won't be scoffing at you, Andrew.
Yeah.
It's crazy, man. I did want to bring this up because I did think it was notable. Angel said, talking about Malik Ewan, said he took responsibility for the game, and that shows maturity. Yeah, he did. And Arkansas, especially on Twitter, they're not a super active team. Pringle will get on there from time to time, but yeah, Malik Ewan was just like, hey, blame it on me. Like I missed too many free throws. And I was happy to see there weren't a bunch of Razorback fans that were in there like, yeah, you did, you jackass. But most people were like, no, dude, like it wouldn't have even been a game if it wasn't for you, and very encouraging and stuff. But good to see him wear it like that. It's sometimes you get frustrated and you just like want to be heard or, something. And you just go to social media and it's always like might delete later situation. But that tells me that he does care. You know what I mean? Like, because people have questioned that with Ewan in the past. Like, is he a winning basketball player? How much does that type of stuff mean to him? And clearly it impacted him enough to where he just felt like he needed to put something out there. So I'm cool with that. Let's see. Looks like we got, okay, just two more that we'll get to. I do want to answer this from Kingsley. Hope you're doing well, buddy. He says, why do our screens seem so soft? Other teams seem to get way more separation than we do. Is that by design, or are our bigs just bad at screening? I think it's a few things. I think they're a little bit lazy with it, for one. And I think they're trying to start their move a little bit too early. Like Ewan and Trevin in particular leave early. And sometimes that is by design. Like they'll just try to slip it or whatever and not really set a quality screen. That's part of it. Sometimes that's on the ball handler, though, because you got to set your man up and rub shoulders off of those screens, because otherwise your big's running the risk of getting called for a moving screen. If he has to move and step over, he's going to get called for one of those. And that was a problem for Acuff early in the year. He's gotten a lot better about that. But yeah, combination of things. Like sometimes they're just a little bit lazy. Sometimes your guards are not waiting for them to get set and they're not taking the right angles. Other times, like they're just trying to slip a little bit too early. But it is a thing. I've definitely noticed that. And John Neighbors, he says, my doc here at the doctor's office in Little Rock is a daily listener of Pot the Palace. It spreads. I like that. It's very good. We like the daily listeners. It's a daily show, so we need that.
It's really hard to find content that you like and that you can listen to every single day. Every night I listen to podcasts. I personally listen to podcasts when I go to sleep, and like there's some nights where, especially over the holidays, I'm bummed out where I'm like, y'all just not doing, y'all only doing one show this week. Like, what the hell? You know what I mean? Yeah. It's hard. And so, man, having that every single day, just about, it's like, that's a game changer, man. And you bring the state of Arkansas together.
Well, since that Houston game, the last couple of days, and the numbers have been fine, but not on the level that they were leading up to it. And I almost got my feelings hurt about it. Yesterday I was like, damn, man, I could put a lot of work into that. One loss and people but I get it, dude. And it's right around the holidays and stuff too. But no, it's been really cool. Appreciate it. And it's a good way to just remind everybody that from a Pot the Palace standpoint, we're going to have them rolling out here every day, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. No, that doesn't mean that on like Christmas Eve night that I'm going to be, recording at 1 o'clock in the morning and stuff. No, like I'm just going to be doing some evergreen stuff over the course of the next couple of days and have it scheduled for you guys, but some fun stuff. So make sure that you tap in. Some of you are on airplanes or driving all over the place and traveling. Want to make sure that give you something to listen to, and you're still going to wake up and drink your coffee in the morning. And so we got to take care of the coffee club, but definitely appreciate everybody rocking with us. Any final thoughts as we get out of here for the day, Andrew, on a, dare I say, successful show when we weren't really sure about some of the elements at play here. So
yeah, it went about as well as it could have. Appreciate everybody for rocking with us, man. I mean, it's holidays for everybody. And, if you're taking time out of your day, whether you're with family, whether you're at work still, I know some people, it sucks having to go to work on a Monday right before Christmas or whatever. But no matter the circumstances, we appreciate all of y'all and hanging in here with us, man, and just keeping it rocking. And appreciate everybody for not being mean about internet, whatever. Listen, obviously we've had our struggles in the past. We do think we've kind of fixed my house's internet, because I just got a new laptop and it's all good. But when we're traveling and I'm in a hotel today, I was in my sister's house the other day, not doing anything for my sister's house. Can confirm that, but appreciate everybody for being understanding and cool. And we're just going to keep rocking, man. We're keep making this thing work. And it's always nice to have like an actual audience of people that interact. And we appreciate y'all, man. So yeah, have a great day. Keep enjoying your holidays, and we will see you tomorrow.
Yeah. Hey, it worked out well over on your end. There was only like 10 seconds where I was a little bit worried about you for a second.
I got a little robot-y.
Like, oh, yeah, here we go. And but it shaped up pretty quick and worked out. But yeah, thanks. Appreciate everybody for hanging out with us. We will be back tomorrow. And I believe John will be back tomorrow for Inside Arkansas Live, same time, noon. Make sure you tap in with us, subscribe to the channel, turn on those notifications now. If you haven't done it by now, you need to do it soon, because we just talked about how crazy it's going to be for the portal. When we go live for the breaking news, you guys want to be able to hop in with us and get involved in the chat and experience it in real time. So for Andrew Ellis, intern Cameron, Curtis Wilkerson, Inside Arkansas, thank you guys for hanging out with us. Do it again tomorrow. We'll see you then.